Good afternoon, everyone. Last two classes we have been discussing about what are the concepts behind control systems engineering and how it is useful in analysis of any mechanical system or electrical system or any new product when it is before its launch, how a model can be built, mathematical model can be built, and how the performance of such products can be predicted. That's what we saw in the last two classes. We'll go according to our curriculum. In our unit number 5, we are going to study what do we mean by systems, what is a control system. Then we'll try to compare what are open loop systems, what are closed loop systems, and then we'll try to learn what are the techniques of mathematical modeling of mechanical systems. And then we'll see some other system representation methods like block diagram representation and the rules related to block diagram algebra as such. This is what our unit number 5 contains. So let us start with the concepts or the definitions of various terms used in control systems. First of all, let us see what do we mean by a system. In designing a mechatronic system, one of the steps involved is to prepare a model of the system so that predictions, as I told you earlier, predictions can be made regarding its behavior when parametric changes occur. Now, this we are doing beforehand at the development phase, before building our first prototype. Such models involve drawing block diagrams to represent systems. Now, this will be studying in details. There are a number of representation methods. One of the methods is writing a mathematical equation of operation, which describes the dynamics of that system. In the other graphical methods are there. One of the methods is representing various elements involved in that mechatronic system in the form of blocks. So it's a sort of a pictorial representation of various systems. What happens is when we have a pictorial representation, it gives us a brief idea about the functioning of a system. It is somewhat similar to if you go to any of the societies, well-planned societies, let us say, what we see is there are, let us say, 300 blocks are there constructed. Let us say you've gone to some Vaishnavi Nagar, and in Vaishnavi Nagar there are 300 blocks. Instead of searching each of the blocks separately, which block is where, what they do is they portray a plan, which is a sort of a block representation. So it's a site plan. So you have a scaled diagram at the entrance of the society itself, wherein all the roads are shown in a scaled down manner, and then main roads, sub roads, and then the block number. So it's a scaled down version of a plan diagram. So at the entrance itself, instead of searching randomly, what we can do is we have to go to third road. From the third road, take left turn, and we have block number 250, whatever it is. So it is easy to sort out. Somewhat similar kind of utility is there of a block diagram. Let us say we are visiting a dairy plant. Let us say Doodh Pandari. In Pune Road, we have a Doodh Pandari plant. And we want to visit, let us say, the refrigeration plant alone. The plant has 32 blocks. So just to locate that block by referring to that diagram, I can identify where is the refrigeration block located. I can identify that. Once I go to refrigeration plant, now how that freezing unit works. Instead of before understanding the verbal description of the chilling plant, if a diagram is provided where the milk enters, how it is filtered, okay, how it is heated, how the pasteurization is done, and how the chilling is done, and where the storage is happening. If I just depict it in the form of a block, just I put a square block and put chiller, I name it as a chiller. I put a block and name it as a plate heat exchanger where pasteurization is taking place. So I can get a feel, I can get an idea, overall picture, let us say a bird's eye view of that system. So similar is the case in case of our control system block diagram representation as well. Before understanding a complex physical process, I have a press shop, how that hydraulic circuit in the press shop works. Before verbally listening to it and understanding it, it's always better to look at the line diagram or the block diagram of the functioning of that power press, so that the things are conceptualized in your mind, so to say. Similar, such models have involved drawing block diagrams to represent the system. So this is one way of pictorial representation of the control system. Though mathematical details are not involved in it, but later on, once you know the equation of operation of each of the blocks, each of the elements, each of the components, each of the subsystems, then I can insert those transfer functions inside the block diagram so that I can analyze that block diagram even. So this is one way of representation. A system can be thought of as a box or a block diagram which has an input and an output, and where we are concerned not with what goes on inside the box, but with only the relationship between the output and the input. Isn't it? So our objective is very clear. What is the input to that system and what is the output from the system, and what that uh, element or component or subsystem is exactly doing. So the system is a representation method. So suppose I have a spring. What I do, I just apply some force and the spring stretches. Okay. So if I want to depict that functioning in the form of a block diagram, let us see here. What I do is I just write spring inside the box. Input is the applied force, and what is the output? Output is extension of the spring. So a system is a diagrammatic representation. A system has some input and it gives out some output. Okay. Similar, motor. Input is I provide some electrical power, and what I get as the output is rotation or RPM, and torque as the output. We have a thermometer as a measurement system. Input is the temperature. Suppose it's a liquid and glass type of a thermometer. That bulb, glass bulb is subject, which is mercury in glass tube type of a thermometer. Input is that mercury is subjected to temperature. Because of that, it expands and it rises in the capillary that we have above that thermometer, and the output is number on the scale. Actually, it is the expansion of the mercury which moves in the capillary, and if that capillary is calibrated in terms of degree Celsius or degree Fahrenheit, accordingly it will, if it is properly calibrated, it will tell me the exact temperature value. So input is the temperature and output is the number that is shown on the scale. So this is what is a representation of a system. Now, what is the control system? The meaning of the word control is to regulate something, to monitor something, to moderate something, isn't it? So there are many meanings to the word control. Now, the control system can control the temperature, can regulate the flow, can attenuate the voltage signal, right? So there are a number of parameters it can regulate or control or monitor. A control system can be thought of as a system which can be used first to control some variable to some particular value. For example, a central heating system where the temperature is controlled to a particular value. So the objective is to regulate the temperature, to control the temperature. Now this Room heating system is most popular in Western countries where the temperature in certain regions are sub-zero temperatures. So snowfalls are there. So people stay inside and they have to heat up that room. So room heating system is a common place. Whereas in Asian or subcontinental houses, we more or less require air conditioning, cooling, because the outside temperature is higher. So we need to have comfortable stay. So we have a room air conditioning system. So there, this control system regulates or controls the temperature within a room. The objective can be to control the sequence of events. For example, a washing machine, where when the dials are set to say, let us say light wash, and the machine is then controlled to a particular washing cycle, sequence of events appropriate to that type of clothing. Okay. So in a washing machine, normally we use, in today's washing machines, they use microcontrollers. The objective is once again similar. What it does not precisely control the quality of wash as such, but what it does is it controls the sequence of operations. What should happen if you typically observed a washing machine working? As it's said here, you have number of buttons available: light wash, heavy wash, 30-minute wash cycle, 40 minutes wash cycle, 1 hour wash cycle. Accordingly, I press that button and set the controller for that value. Now, once that button is set and if you start the execution of the control cycle, what exactly happens is, we know the washing process. What happens? You put the clothes inside the drum, and then first stage, the water, hot water or cold water, it is flowing inside. Let us list out the operations, let us say. So first stage, entering of water inside the drum. So wetting of clothes, let us say. Maybe hot water or cold water. And let us say that the temperature heating of that water is already been done. I have a 60 degrees Celsius hot water that is pouring inside the drum. Now next is allowance of some detergent. Okay, maybe 50 grams of detergent is to be mixed. That is step 2. So that valve is opened and the detergent is allowed to enter inside the drum. So I have water plus detergent. Okay, warm water plus detergent to required concentration. Now the next stage is first of all mixing of that mixture and wetting of the clothes. So next step is in the sequence of operations is maybe rotating the drum so that there is proper mixing of this detergent and hot water, warm water, and wetting of clothes. Maybe clockwise, anti-clockwise rotation of the drum. That is stage 3. Once that proper mixing is done, then maybe depending on heavy cycle, light cycle, now that wash action has to happen. So what is stage 4? It will do sort of a stirring action. Clockwise, maybe one rotation, clockwise, anti-clockwise, one more rotation. Maybe nowadays they are putting some balls, plastic balls inside that, so that you have that impacting action taking place inside the drum, and the clothes are washed accordingly. So fourth step is execution of clockwise and anti-clockwise twisting actions. So that can be done vigorously, that can be done lightly, depending on the type of wash that I want. Okay, thereafter, once this is repeated, maybe 4 or 5 times, so that is stage number 5, the repetition of clockwise and anti-clockwise twisting. And thereafter, once that maybe 15 minutes time, for 15 minutes you have to do that sort of a stirring action. And step number 6 could be, okay, the clothes are washed, let us say. Then draining out of, before draining, let us say, it is rinsing of the clothes. Okay. So next stage, step number 6 could be allowing more water inside the drum so that the dilution of detergent and cleaning of clothes would be done to some extent. So allowance of more water. And thereafter, while rinsing, after you dilute the detergent content within the clothes, what we do is we start spinning the drum. maybe step number 7 could be spinning of drum slowly. So when spinning of close takes place, all those drums are perforated. So once the spinning starts, maybe at 400 rpm, 200 rpm, whatever it is, the set value, the water, because of centrifugal action, will come out of the close, and it will be collected within the storage drum. So this is what this water is: a mixture of detergent and dirt and water, everything. So in first stage of rinsing, some of the soap, detergent is removed. Then maybe step number 8 could be a heavy rinsing. You pour some more water, add some more water, and just do spinning once again. So the clothes are clean. Step number 9 could be now drying. Then once again spinning heavily, and before that, maybe whatever water collected should be drained off. That could be step number 11. So the draining of dirty water, that is step number 11. We're adding few more, maybe little more of water, fresh water, for rinsing once again, doing it once again, step number 12. And then drying of clothes, then spinning the drum at maybe say 400 rpm, 600 rpm. So whatever is the water content, that will be removed from the clothes, and then this completes the cycle. And maybe giving a beep that your cycle is complete, and then so that you can open the door. Now this is what is the sequence of operation, let us say. Now what control system can do, or microcontroller can do, based on my sequential requirements, accordingly the control signals will be given to appropriate actuating elements. Maybe opening of valve, closing of valve, starting of motor, stopping of motor, heating of water, stopping the heating of water, opening of drain valve, closing of drain valve. So whatever are the events involved, in a sequential fashion, those should be executed. So the second application of control system is controlling the sequence of events. Okay, right. So in a feedback control system, now this is a new word, feedback control system. Up till now we are talking about a control system. Now feedback, as the name indicates, what I'm doing, I'm observing whether my desired output is attained or not. I take a feedback. Like in a class, I ask you a question. Okay, I have conveyed you the concept. Have you understood it? Yes, no. If yes, I go to the next point. If no, I repeat the concept. So this is sort of feedback that I'm taking. In control systems also, what is done is, suppose I want to maintain temperature of a furnace. I want to attain a temperature of 1000 degree inside a heat treatment furnace. I set the knobs for those 1000 degrees Celsius, and I keep on taking the feedback. What is the present temperature? 600, 700, 800. Accordingly, the corrective action is taken. So I use a sensor transducer to sense the temperature, and that signal is fed back, and that is compared with the set value, and accordingly, whatever is the error in the temperature value, the corrective action is given to the actuator. In case of a heater, electrical heater, the input voltage is varied, so that further reading is done till what point the error becomes 0. So this feedback is constantly taken from the system so that the desired output parameter is obtained. So it's a feedback control system. In a feedback control system, the actual output signal is fed back and compared with the set value, and a corrective control action is taken so that the desired output is obtained. Example, human body temperature control. Now this is a wonderful autonomous control system the nature has given, God has given. It has got a temperature control system, it has got a dirt control system, it has got all the parameters, flow control systems are there, the humidity control systems are there, okay, vision control systems are there, sound control systems are there, touch tactile control systems are there. So, and these are the visible outside the units we are talking about. Within our system, digestive system has its own control system. When the food is taken inside, how that peristaltic movement can help the food to reach the stomach, and there, once there is food inside the stomach, how those enzymes and those digestive juices are secreted only after that, and then the digestion takes place, and then absorption starts, and then excretion takes place. So digestive control system, Then various hormonal secretions, those take place automatically. Even emotional response, if you're having fear, if you've got anxiety, the certain secretions would automatically start. So it's a wonderful, human body is a wonderful example of a natural control system or body gifted control system. Okay, the body temperature, as we all know, in hot sunny days, what happens is the body temperature is needed to be maintained at a preset value. So what happens is the brain senses, or rather, whatever on the skin we might have sensors, and that temperature is sensed, that signal is given to the brain. So what brain does is brain actuates the sweat glands on the skin, wherever the skin sweat glands are there, and those sweat glands are actuated, and the fluid is liberated, that sweat is liberated coming out of the skin pores, and it is on the surface of the skin. What happens is the body and the air flows over that sweat, and you have that cooling effect. That heat transfer is taking place, convective heat transfer is taking place on the surface of your skin, and the body temperature is maintained to desired value. This is a wonderful example of a human body temperature control. It's a wonderful feedback control system. Now, room temperature control, as I said, we discussed earlier, in Western countries, we use room temperature control systems, and the fuel is burnt, and then whatever is the requirement, the outside temperature is, let us say, sub-zero temperature, maybe minus 10 degrees Celsius, snowfall is taking place, and I want to maintain the room temperature to, let us say, 25 degrees Celsius. So maybe I'm sitting inside, a human element acts as a feedback element, and the system proper, and then he will start burning more wood, or maybe actuate some electrical heater, so that those heaters or that furnace will start giving out heat, and the room temperature is maintained at your desired value. So your human element there is acting as a feedback element, senses the temperature and feels it, and then takes manually certain actions so that the room heat is. There can be automatic control systems also. There can be sensors which sense the room temperature, and depending on the preset value, maybe 25 degrees the preset degrees Celsius, the preset value, present temperature is maybe minus 10. The error signal is of 35 degrees. Accordingly, the control signal is generated, and the actuating signal is developed, so that the heater will start up, and it will keep on heating the room till the desired temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. So these are the examples of feedback control system. We'll discuss these in details. Now, feedback control, human body temperature, how is the block diagram representation? Just observe here. Required temperature, the body temperature control system, the maintained body temperature, feedback of data about actual temperature, maybe skin, whatever sensors are there on the human body. The second example is room temperature with central heating. This is the required temperature, and this is actual temperature. Feedback of data about actual temperature, and the corrective action is taken so that the furnace is actuated and the room temperature is maintained. Then we have, okay, the third example, picking up a pencil or any activity I'm doing. I'm writing on a board. So human being is also one of the feedback elements. Where is the board located? Where is the chalk located? Where is the duster located? So accordingly, I take the action, and writing on the board takes place. Searching of a pen, searching of canteen in our AGPID campus. First of all, randomly we search. Once we calibrate our system to as per my campus layout, I automatically go by the road to the canteen area. So these are the examples of feedback controls. There are a number of examples. In day-to-day life, as a mechanical engineer, in CNC control systems, we have feed control systems, spindle speed control systems. We have the surface finish control systems. We have the cutting force control systems. We have the cutting temperature, lubrication control systems. All are examples of my feedback. As I said, we discussed about engine control systems, where the engine power output and RPM is maintained automatically by using engine feedback control system. So these are the few examples of feedback control systems. I think we should stop for today.